Hello, my name is Paulo Martinez Jr. I'm a teacher at Laguna Middle School. I teach world history, and today I'm going to show you how to create a quiz on Google Classroom. So you're going to go here on classwork. You're going to press create, like if you're going to create an assignment. Now, there's different options here that we can use. All we're going to concentrate on is creating a quiz. So we're going to click here, and this opens up here. All right, so here you would put your title of the quiz, depending on the name of the quiz, the instructions you want to give. Um, Here you can, this is the class that you're in right now, so I'm in a demo right now. But if I want to assign this to other classes, I can go ahead and click all of these here. That way I don't have to go one by one to assign it to all the students. Now, if I only want to give it to a specific student, I would have to unclick all of that and then choose a student. Right now I'm using the student demo, so I can't. But if you want to give a quiz to specific students, maybe students that missed out on something or an extra credit quiz assignment, you can do that. Okay. Here are the points that you can give out depending on your grading system. Due date, you can choose what time or what day it's due. Then we also have a topic right here. Here you can create a topic. You can write what unit you have on there, what exactly you've covered, things like that. Then we also have rubric now. One thing, the rubric, you can create a rubric, reuse a rubric, or import from sheets. So I haven't really messed around with that much, but this is basically what it looks like if you create a rubric, right? So other criteria you'll use to evaluate student work, as well as any performance level or descriptions that you want to include. Students will receive a copy of the rubric with their assignment. So basically, you just put the criteria, criteria description, the points, your levels, your description. You can add more stuff to it as well, um, and so on. And that when you click right here, it just basically gives you more stuff you can add to your rubric. Okay, so like I said, I haven't really messed around with the rubric as much, but you can create a rubric on here if you need to. I don't think we're going to be using that much with the middle school or elementary level. High school is very useful. Um, Before you get started, there's other things that we look at here that is important. Like number one, you cannot post anything unless you create a title. So you can see where it says assign. You can't assign anything until you put a title. So here, let's just go ahead and put Africa because that's what I'm teaching my kids right now. Now I can assign, or I can schedule, draft, or I could discard a draft. And another thing that's important for teachers is instructions, because every kid needs instructions to be able to do their projects or anything that they need to, especially in a quiz. So here you would write your instructions on what you need your kids to do. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and look down here. So here we have add and create. So on create, you can create a document. So it's basically like a Word page, but on Google Docs. So here you can write more instructions that the kids need, or maybe some notes that you want them to look over before they start the quiz. So there's other possibilities. Or maybe your quiz you want them to do is fill in the blanks. So you would have to, write out your questions on there and have them answer it, but then you would have to also hand grade it. There is an option on regular quizzes to, make a quiz that they just write out the answer. And I'll show you how that works in a bit. Now, if you want the students to be able to edit, you would have to, the document, you would have to go here and put student can edit file, make a copy for each student. Next, we also have slides. So maybe there's a slideshow that you want to add for them, that you would go ahead and put. Now here's just a blank slide so that you would have to create. So the easiest thing is you would go to add, and then you'd go to either file or Google Drive, and you would look for that um, form that you made of that slide. Okay, so like this one right here, you'd upload it and it'll come out as a slide. So let's go ahead and do that actually. So here, same thing. If you want the students just to view the file, leave it alone. If you want them to be able to edit it, you could do it like that. Or you could make a copy for each student. That way they each have a copy. And then next we have sheets. This is just a regular spreadsheet in case there's extra things, like I said, that you want for them to look at. So maybe you have a spreadsheet of numbers or formulas that you want them to look over. Well, you can add that in there as well. Like I said, the easiest thing is to upload a file that you already created. That way you don't have to do it by hand. Because if you were to do that here in Create, well, then you would have to create it right then and there. And that's going to take up some time. Then we have our drawings. Here you can be able to draw. And I don't know how this would be helpful for the kids, but maybe you're a math teacher and you want them to draw out certain symbols or shapes, and they can go ahead and do that. So maybe you want them to draw out a triangle that you want them to, I don't know, find the volume or whatever. I'm not a math person, so I really don't know. But like I said, this can be very helpful for someone or some kids, so that's always a good option to have. And then let's go ahead and look back over here. We also have forms. So maybe you have another form that you want to add in there, or a second quiz, maybe part 1 of one quiz and then part 2 of another quiz. So if you're going to do that and you want this to count as a quiz, you would have to go here and then click over here where it says quizzes, and then you're going to put make this as a quiz. That way it could grade it for you. If not, it's not going to grade it. And once you're done with that, you could put save. Okay, let's go ahead and close that. So let's go back to where we were over here. So if you don't want any of them, just close them and you'll be fine. All right, so now we're going to add. So on add, you can add files from your Google Drive. You can add a link, a file, or a YouTube video. So if you already have something created on your Google Drive, you can go ahead and just upload it. You can also add files that you have on your Google Drive, PDF documents, and so forth. All right, so that's one option you can have. Another add-on is, like I said, you can post links or a YouTube video. Maybe there's a YouTube video you want them to watch. So you would post the video here, or you'd post a URL here. Like I said, if you have a video about the quiz, maybe a overview of what you want them to study for before the quiz starts, so you can add that there. So this kind of is the same as your assignments, but it's just for quizzes. So let's go ahead and look at the quiz in general. So here where it says blank quiz, you click that up, opens up, and it gives you a blank quiz document. So here's where most of your work is going to be taking place. So the most important thing is you need to name your quiz. So one thing before I continue, you can use this as a quiz or you can make it into an exam, either or. Okay, it grades it the same. You put in how many points you want for each question and so on. Okay, so we're going to name this quiz West Africa quiz. Those corrections there. Okay, and once you do that, you can also put a description of what this quiz will be about, your expectations, the point systems, and so forth. Another thing is make sure you change the name over here as well. It should do that automatically, but if it doesn't, you can go ahead and just change it yourself. That way when you exit out, it will save it under that file name as well. So once you put your title here and here, here's another thing we should look at is your description. Now here, you can write out your expectations, the way the quiz is going to be graded, or what the quiz or your exam is going to go over. So you can write that there. It's optional. You don't have to. Now let's go ahead and look down here. So this is the main part that we came for. So this is where our quiz questions and answer choices will be. So just to activate, it's very simple. You click here. So right here is where you would write your question. Down here is where you would put your answer choices. Right now it's in multiple choice, so you could put different things like that. And then your answer choices, you just click here, you write anything you want here. Then you click here to add another answer choice. And you can put as many as you want. I'll show you for example here. Okay, so it can go on and on. So like I said, that's how you could do your answer choices. Now to mark which one's the right answer, you click here. Let me go back a sec so I can show you. So down here it says answer key, you click here, and then you click which one will be your correct answer, and you distribute how many points you want to put on there. You press done. So there you go. You have your first question already ready to go. Now to make your next one, you can either put right here where you put add a question, or you could duplicate. Maybe you have the same kind of format you want. So you go here, press duplicate, and it makes the same thing that you had up here down here, because maybe you have the same kind of format that you want, but you have different questions. So you go ahead and just change to your question here to something else. You change your answer choices, and then you put your answer key, and then you choose which one will be your correct answer, and your 5 points will already be there. You press done. Now let's go ahead and just make a new one here. Now let's go ahead and look here. So here, as you can notice, there is a picture you could put here. So you could put, if you have a picture already on your file, you can go ahead and browse. Let me find a picture here. So this one right here would be a great example. So here, this is a picture of the triangular trade. So here you could put that question there. And then you can either put it as a multiple choice, or let's go ahead and look at our other options, okay? So you could put a multiple choice. You could put a short answer, so the kids can just type it in. You could put let's go back over here, paragraph, so they can write an entire paragraph, however long you want. You can do multiple choice, a checkbox. So there they just check. So it's kind of the same as multiple choice, but they just click the check mark. A drop down, so that's just you put your answer choices there, and it's just a drop down feature that shows. You could upload a file, that way they can look at it. You could put a linear scale, which I don't know how that would be helpful here. Multiple choice grid. So instead of having just straight down, you can have it in a grid box or a check grid. You could also put a time, or you could put, oh, sorry, I said time. Yeah, you could put a date or a time, depending on your question. So this one would either be a multiple choice, a checkbox, multiple choice grid, or you can make it a short answer. Now, to make it a short answer, you would have to put here, you put the correct answer would be the triangular trade. Now you can put mark all answers incorrect, or you can just leave it like that. That way, if it's close, it'll mark it right. Well, I suppose. So let's continue. So you can, here's another feature we can add. Let's go ahead and add another question. Or you know what, let's go ahead and just get rid of this here. So maybe we want to import a question. Let's delete that. So maybe you had another quiz or you had an assignment that had questions on there and you want to use those questions. So what you would do, let me show you how that works again. You go here where it says import question. So here on import question, you're getting questions from another form and you're putting them on your quiz. So a couple of weeks ago, my class had some questions on West Africa. So if I gave them some questions last week, maybe I want to put those questions in the quiz and make them into a quiz form. So here's the form I made. This was an assignment we did. I click here. Let's move this out of the way. So here it shows me the questions that I asked. Okay, so here you can go ahead and choose the questions that you did, and you can import, and it pulls it down to the bottom. So here's a question that I had asked the kids. I can change it around. I can change it into a multiple choice question. So, because here it was a fill in the blank. Now I can change it into multiple choice, give them different options and try to confuse them. That way I can test their knowledge to see if they're actually paying attention or just looking at the notes. All right, so let's go on to our next feature, which is add title and description. So maybe when you start your quiz, there's different units you are going over. So maybe you want to give your kids a hint like, okay, so we went over West Africa, now we're going over North Africa. Or if you're a math teacher, we went over exponents, now we're going into something else. You put that here, you write a description here of what you want them to pay attention to, and they can go on and they know what they have to look for, what they're working on. Okay. Let's go ahead and look at add an image. Now, this goes back to what we did earlier. So maybe you want to add another image. Maybe you want to add a map. And you want to put it on there because you're going to ask several questions about that map. Okay. So you add your map here. Okay, and then you put here, your title. And then you start asking your questions. You go down here and you put so you ask your questions and then you put your multiple choice or you put your fill in the blanks or whatever you want. Okay, so that gives you an opportunity to put an image and ask several questions about that image. That way you don't have to be reusing that image over and over again. So another tool we have here is to add a video. So let's go ahead and look up a video. This was something we went over with my class a couple of weeks ago. So you look up your video, you put it up here. Now another thing, if you already have a video in mind, you don't want to look it up and you could just copy and paste the URL here. You can even copy and paste the URL on here. So you go and look up your video on YouTube, copy the URL, like this one right here. Let's go ahead and pause that. You copy the URL here. There we go. You go back over here, paste it here, put search. There's a video. You click on it, and then the same thing. You start adding questions about the video. Okay, that way, if you have extra things that you want to include in your quiz or your test, you can go ahead and put that in a video as well. Now let's go into the last part here of this toolbar, which is add another section. So here you can add another section of the test. That way, you can add more questions or add more things that you planned out, because maybe you have 2 sections of a test, So that's another option you could put onto there. And this one opens and expands that section. That way it's not so huge, you know? Like, let me show you here. So here, closes that, makes everything smaller. When you're ready to start that section, you click here, shows you all the questions that you have here. Okay. So I've already shown you all the tools that are on here. Now let's go ahead and look at these up here. So this is not just the only things you can do. Now another thing, you can make it nice. You know, let's go to the top so I can show you. You can make it look nice. You know, you could change the color. Maybe you don't like the purple. Maybe you want the blue or the gray or the green. So you can change your colors around here. And you can also change the background as well. You can change the font. That way it looks a little nicer or different. Now, I wouldn't recommend using different types of font because maybe, you know, the student's eyesight or their what they can see limits them. Like if we were to use this kind of font, well, it's going to be hard for some students, especially younger students that don't know how to read cursive, to read that. So just use your basic font is my recommendation, but if you want to change it, you can. Another thing is you can change the header, which is this up here. Maybe you want to add a theme to it. You know, if you're a reading teacher, you can add this here. Put insert, and it'll come out here. Or if you want to look up and put a header, you can as well. So you can upload a header. So there was one I actually did upload the other day. Let me look for it on here. So there's this one because we were going over Africa. I wanted to give it an African theme, so I put this header here. So once you put your header there, you could add a caption as well, type something in there. But other than that, once you have your header ready, you can go ahead and put done. And it comes out here, and it gives it that African vibe. That way the kids can get more into it, you know, doesn't make it look so bland or, you know, boring. So that's the decoration side of it. There's some more settings you can look at here. Now these are important because you need to make sure you have your settings correct. That way you're able to grade your test correctly. If you look here, we have general, presentation, and quizzes. So the first thing is always make sure, when you're on general, always make sure that you collect your student's email. That way you know who's turning in their work. If not, it's going to come out as response 1, response 2, response 3. Okay. Responses, recept. So let's read what that says. Respondents receive a copy of their responses. So that lets them see what they messed up on. So if you want to let them look at their mistakes, you can. That way, if they want to go over it, they can. Now this is if they want to. So it'll give you, it'll send you a message asking you to give them permission if they always want to, or if they want to look over it. Now, if you put always, that means it's just going to give it to them automatically. Okay. Require sign in. Okay, so basically the kids do have to sign in to their Google account to do their test. Now, you can require sign in, or you can take it off. All right. But if you do, you need to make sure it's restricted to users of Rio Grande City ISD and its trusted organization. Also, limit to 1 response. So if you click here, that means if they sign in, they can only sign in once. They can't go back in and do it again. All right, that way you don't have them going over and over trying to do better every time. Okay, respondents can edit after submitting. So that means that they can go back and change their answers. That's only if you want to. See summary chart and text response. That's, like I said, it's only if they want to. Okay. Now, if you take it off, then they can't. Now, if you're giving a quiz, I'm pretty sure you're going to have these off. But if you want to be nice and give them a chance before you give a final grade, then you can turn this on. So we're going to go ahead and put save here. That way we can go on. Now, another thing is this one right here. My suggestion is to turn it off. That way they don't have to be re-putting in their email. That way they could just sign in without having to, or not sign in, but go into the test without having to sign in and having that struggle. Okay, because I've noticed with my kids, I leave this on and, oh, I forgot my password, or I'm having a hard time with it. So just leave it off. That way they could just go in. It'll collect their email for you either way. That way you know who went in, and they'll have just an easier time with it. Okay. So once you're done with that, let's go on to presentation. So presentation just means how it's going to look. So you can show a progression bar. That way they can see their progress. You could shuffle the questions in order, and also you could show a link to submit another response. Okay, that way they can go in and, you know, change whatever. Confirmation message, you could put here a little message that you want to put for them. All right. Here, quizzes. So do you want to make this into a quiz, or do you want to, you know, make it into just another assignment? That way it doesn't count against them on their grades, you know. Now another thing we look at is locked mode on Chromebooks. Now this only kind of works on Chromebooks. It's kind of like a lockdown browser for Google. Like I said, it's responses must take this quiz using a managed Chromebook. So just, you can try it, but if they don't have a Chromebook, they're going to have problems with it. So I wouldn't suggest using this unless you're in a classroom with a whole class set of Chromebooks. So this is just to prevent from cheating or be able to look up things on the internet. Release grade, so you could put immediately after, or if you want to grade it yourself, you could put later after manual grading. Now, I'm pretty sure most of us are going to want an immediate grade. Okay. Here you could put the option of if they want to see what they missed, the correct answers, or their points valued. Now, if you don't, since we're online and kids share answers, maybe you want to take these off and just see how many points they got, or maybe just see which ones they missed and just not put that one there, because they will probably take pictures and share with their friends. All right. And that's pretty much it with that. So we're going to go ahead and put save. Once we're done with this, there's other options here that we can look at. So send. So send just sends it off to your email. That way you could look over it later, or maybe you want to send it off to an administrator. That's the link. And that's just some more information, you know, how the width and the height and size and so forth. I think these you can change around, but we're not going to mess around with that too much. Like I said, you can send this off to your administrator that they could look over it, or your department head, or you want to post this quiz online, you know. More stuff here. So you can make a copy of this quiz. Maybe you want to save it for another time. So you could go ahead and just put OK. And there's your copy. And maybe you want to like just change it around or something like that, you know. Let's go back over here. Trash, that just throws it into a trash can. Then we got get pre-filled link. It just shows you how the link will look. Okay, so all this here. Let's go back to over here. And then we have print. You can print out what this is here. See it here. This is a preview of what it's going to look like, of course. All right, that way maybe if you're back in the regular classroom and you can actually create this and print it out and use this instead of like having to you know, write it out on Word or whatever other program you use. And it makes it a little bit easier for you, you know. So this is another option we can use when we go back to the regular classroom to create a quiz. So, and it makes it look a little bit nicer as well, a little bit more, you know, standout-ish, I guess. And let's go back over here. Script editor, we don't have to really look at that. That's just shows a bunch of code. Add-ons, you could add other apps, but that's not, I'm not going to get too much into that because it's a little too advanced. And then we have our preferences, which just shows you the preferences. So that's pretty much it with that. So once you're done with your quiz, all you got to do is close it. So once you close the quiz form you're working on, it brings it back over here. Just make sure your title's correct, your instructions are correct. I didn't put anything on there, but usually when I do make a quiz or assignment, I put instructions. The reason it brings you back over here is to give you a chance to look over everything. You can add on other information that you need, like other files. You can create other things that you need on here that you might have thought of last minute. So that's why it brings you back to the beginning. Your quiz form is already here. As you can see, this is what we worked on. So you can go ahead and you can assign it to all your classes or just assign it to one student. Right now I only have one student assigned, like I said. How many points this is going to be. So maybe there's 25 questions. You can put 25 out of whatever. Or you can put an ungraded, whatever you want. Depends on how your grading method is. And once you're ready, you can either assign it now, schedule it for a certain day and time, or you could just save it as a draft. I'm going to go ahead and put assign. Let's go ahead and put assign on here. And let's go ahead and look at it on student view. So I signed into the student demo. I also made a history class demo. That way I can experiment before I post it onto my regular classes. So to go to your quiz or test, whatever you made, you go here. And it's already assigned here. It is also viewable on stream, so the kids can go ahead and just click on it and it goes straight there. You go ahead and you click on here. And since I put a progression bar, it comes out like this. So all you need to do for the students to go on, they press next, tells them the unit section, they press next, and then they go ahead and start on their quiz here. Once they're done, they put submit. I didn't put anything, so nothing's going to come out. You can view score, which will probably tell you 0 out of 10. You can also open assessment, which goes over here. That way you can see, you can go back and view what you were doing. If the student wants, they could unsubmit it and do it again if they need to. That way they can get a better score. You can edit your responses of your students, so you can go back and do it again. Now, if you do not put a progression bar, it's just going to look like this. All right. So let's go ahead and see what this would look like when it's submitted and what the teacher would get back. Okay, so like I said, the students can view their score, which is going to be 0 out of 0 because we didn't answer anything. So let's go ahead and see what the teacher would be receiving on the other end. So here we're still on the student, so it's marked as turned in. So on the teacher's side, let's go back over here. And let's go to grades. So here, the teacher would see what the student turned in. You click on here, and we're going to go ahead and click on this pencil right here. So you can go ahead and view your responses. And you can look at individual response. So here is, that's why it's important to collect their student email, so you can see the email that they sent in. You can see what they scored here. Okay. And in turn, once you see that, you can go back over here. Just mark their grade, 0. Return. And you put return. And let's go ahead and go back to the class over here. And you can also view the grades here. So here they got a 0, so their class average would be a 0. Okay, so that's how you can view sort of your grade book on that. So if you have any other questions on how to create a quiz or how to grade a quiz, go ahead and just contact the tech support team and we'll get to you on that. You can also contact me directly through email. My name, like I said, is Pablo Martinez Jr. If you're going to contact me, it's P Martinez 042. Do not put 041 because it's my dad. But if you do, he'll probably let me know and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. All right, thanks. Hope this video was helpful.